On the one hand, I was on a very intense track towards Juilliard. And on the other hand, I had discovered Adderall, which I was buying from people, not prescribed, and I had discovered cocaine. And I was going in a really dangerous direction. In that moment, I said, God, I don't think I'm gonna survive this. I think that this is where I'm gonna die. And I said, if I get out of this, I'm giving my life to you. He comes into the concert hall and very publicly starts abusing me. Starts saying, who do you think you are? Well, you think that you can ask for special favors. This is the reason people hate the Jews. This is the reason that people hate Israelis. I really thank God for that all happening at the same time, because a lot of my friends from that period in my life are no longer living.
Wow.
I've lost a lot of friends to overdose, and it's something that's really sad.
Do you feel like that could have been me?
Absolutely. I think that every trauma is a superpower and can be a superpower, and I want to turn.
I love that you said that.
Okay.
That's so powerful. Welcome to No Reservations, the most exclusive table in the world where nothing is off limits. Each week, against the backdrop of the Western Wall, where heaven and earth meet, we invite a guest who's made big, bold, beautiful, life-changing choices and is finally ready to talk about why. And today, we're sitting down with a woman who's lived more lives in one lifetime than most people will ever live. Her name is Ariella Zeitlin. Yes, she's magnetic, a virtuoso violinist and a natural performer. But that's not why I invited her on No Reservations. I quickly learned that beneath that light, playful exterior was a deeply profound and layered woman. And I just had to dig deeper with her. When the person who mattered most told a 10-year-old Ariella she couldn't be both an Orthodox Jew and a violinist, she made her choice. It pulled her into drugs, recklessness, and a devastating double life. Then came the betrayal she never saw coming. A public humiliation at the hands of the very mentor who helped build her. Today, Ariella is using her voice, her music, and her story to help people rewrite the way they speak to themselves. She's creating a movement rooted in healing, honesty, and reclaiming your narrative. And she's finally ready to tell you how she got here. So sit with me, get comfy, and lean in. Because today on No Reservations, we're talking to a woman who survived the darkest version of herself and came out carrying light. If this conversation moves you, if it stirs something and ignites something inside of you, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It helps us grow this beautiful community and bring stories like Ariella's to the world. This is No Reservations. This is Ariella Zeitlin. Ariella Zeitlin, welcome to No Reservations.
Thank you for having me. This is very not like my house.
Right, isn't that quite amazing? If I do say so myself, like amazing.
Amazing.
Like, what do you say about
Stunning.
this place?
I think it's stunning. I think that it's really cool. I've been here actually, I probably played at like 40 weddings here on this roof.
Here at the rooftop of the Dan Family HVAC Center.
Yeah.
Before we get going, I just feel like it's very comforting. You want some tea?
Yeah, can I have some tea?
Yes,
I would love some tea.
Please, thank you. Oh,
All right, the
comforting.
beginning.
Take me back to the very beginning.
Okay, so I feel like the beginning is my great-grandparents on either side of my family. If we're gonna, start at the very beginning of the Ariella story. So my grandmother grew up in the home of an admor, which means like he's the head of a chassidut called Stretton.
Okay.
And they
so
live.
You would explain it like almost like the grand rabbi.
The grand rabbi.
Yeah.
The head of a group of the Hasidic movement. Yeah. So that's my grandmother's family. That's the family that she came from. And then my grandfather's parents, they I think that their story is fascinating. So they were both from Dubrovna in Russia. Okay. So their last name was Zeitlin, and there were a lot of Zeitlins in that town. So they get married and they move to Moscow, where they organize groups of Zionists. They want to move to Israel. You're not allowed to be a Zionist in that time in Russia. It's the 1920s in Russia. And
it's like 100 years ago.
Yeah, like 100 years ago. And they have spies everywhere. And they know that if they get caught, what happens? You get sent straight to Siberia.
Of course. Never to be seen again.
So my grandparents get caught, and they've got this little baby named Svi. They get caught and they get thrown into jail. And so they think that this is it. They know what's going to happen. They knew that it was dangerous. But, you know, they prayed and they believed, and then something miraculous happened, which is that they ended up in front of a judge who was Armenian. Now, those of you between 1916 and 1919, millions of Armenians were killed and sent out of Armenia, were exiled. So this judge...
The Armenian genocide.
Right, the Armenian, right, it's called the Armenian genocide. Yes. And so this judge is in Russia, but he doesn't have the same history and the same anti-Semitism and the same relationship with Jews. And he's become a judge, and he hears their story, and it doesn't make any sense to him. He says, I don't understand. If they want to go to Palestine, why would we send them to Siberia? Why don't we just send them to Palestine? Like,
so
we got rid of them. So my great-grandparents were sent to Palestine in the 1920s on the dime of the Russian government. And it's the only people I've ever heard that story. I've never heard in my entire life. My great-grandfather played the violin. And
this is generations.
Right. So which is part of why I include them all in the stories, because I think that it's all connected. Yeah. I think that all the stories and all the pieces are interconnected. So they have a son whose name is Tzvi, and when he's 4, he starts showing musical ability. His father starts teaching him the violin. By the time he's 6, he's past him. So they send him to Tel Aviv, to the best violin teacher in Israel. And by the time he's 7 years old, this little prodigy boy with his little violin is being toted from British Army office, party to party to party to party all over the country. And my grandfather became a spy for the Haganah at the age of 7. Because he had perfect recall, and when you have a conversation with your fellow officer and there's a 7-year-old listening, you're not thinking,
wow.
You're not thinking that this 7-year-old is going to report back. At the age of 11, he goes with his mother, leaving his father and his sister in Nesher, which is next to Haifa, and they go to New York so he can get into Juilliard. And he is, at 11 years old, is the youngest person to ever get accepted to Juilliard.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my grandfather. Him and my grandmother were, high society people. They lived in New York. They were always hosting parties. They're always like, she was very beautiful and very elegant, and he was, and he was very funny, and he had, all of his great stories, and that's the house that my father grew up in.
Yeah.
So what I think it's very interesting is that both of my grandparents, if we're going to talk about Jewish feeling, is they both felt very Jewish.
Right.
They both felt very Jewish. And so when my father later decided to become religious, or was interested in religion, they said, what do you need all that stuff for?
Yeah.
Like, we feel Jewish with what we have, because they got it from their homes.
Sure.
But he didn't get it from his home, and he and my father ended up...
He was craving something more.
Something more.
But they didn't understand it.
Right, they didn't understand it. Right, for what? And so my father, 70s, hippie, finding himself all over the place. He was at Woodstock. And when he was about 20 years old, he ended up in a cult in California. Where he lived for 10 years. So the most interesting thing that I think about my father's experience in the cult was that his mother, who had grown up in this very Orthodox family and had decided to leave, she went to a deprogrammer, because in order to get out of a cult, you really need to hire someone who's an expert in getting someone out of a cult, because otherwise you'll go right back, because it's kind of addicting to be in that society. It's very hard to leave something that you've gotten used to.
Right.
They had approached a deprogrammer, and the deprogrammer said when somebody leaves a cult, they often are drawn to religion. And that when she heard that, she said, hell no. and so it took a couple more years for them to actually
let that sink in.
Yeah.
It was like, better he should be in a cult
than he should be an Orthodox Jew, yeah. Isn't that interesting?
I think that's unbelievable. It's definitely a first.
It's crazy.
I mean, to hear something like that, it's so intense.
At a certain point, she realized, that it was detrimental to him, that, there was also fasting and chanting, and there's a lot that goes into living in a cult. It's not my story, so I don't know everything.
Yes, of
but
course.
I just know that was a big part of him and his moving towards Judaism, because when he left the cult, he ended up in Berkeley, in a renewal movement Judaism group, that's where he met my mom.
Yeah.
My mother is a convert. My mother grew up Christian in Benton Harbor, Michigan, and her father was a state senator. And he worked and fought for the rights of minorities and blacks and Mexicans, and he wanted everybody to get equal pay and all that. My mother actually grew up with a lot of bullying.
Like a target on her back.
Right, a target on her back. And often people would call her a Jew because it was during a time that most of the people who were fighting for the civil rights movement were Jews. So they called her a Jew. There were a couple of situations that my mother lived through that were very, very intense. So then my mother went to music school. My mother has a beautiful voice. She's a really fantastic singer.
You get it from both sides of the family.
I get it from both sides. There's so much
Doubly
music in
blessed.
my family everywhere. And she went through 1 year of music school. And after a year, she kind of realized that wasn't exactly what she wanted to be doing. And then she had a friend ask if she wants to come with her to volunteer on a kibbutz in Israel. So
so random.
Yeah, so random. But it's the 70s.
Yeah, totally.
So
cults, kibbutzim, pick your pick.
So my mom says, okay, let me try it. Let's do it. And she comes to Israel, and she just falls madly in love. And she's living, on the kibbutz, and then she's living in Jerusalem. And then she decides that she wants to convert, and that that she feels like she always had a Jewish soul.
Wow.
And she ended up moving back to the United States, to San Francisco, where my parents both met. And she finished her conversion before she met my dad. And then they lived in Berkeley on a kibbutz commune when they first got married. And then they moved to Baltimore.
By the way.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
But Baltimore doesn't make sense. How did they get from Berkeley to Baltimore?
They moved to Baltimore really because of Rabbi Menachem Goldberger, who was the rabbi of the shul that I grew up at.
So you're born there?
So I was born there.
And did you love growing up there?
I think that there are lots of great things about my childhood. I think that there were great things about growing up.
Let's start there. What were
Baltimore.
The great things?
So number one is that I was homeschooled from third to ninth grade.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it wasn't like I was homeschooled in a bubble. Mm-hmm. There was a whole community of families, like 50 families, that everybody was homeschooling, and we all went on trips together to do hands-on learning in really cool places, like NASA.
So it wasn't like an isolating type of thing.
It wasn't an isolating thing,
You lived amongst peers in a community that were homeschooling.
Right. And during that time, I was very, very serious. I became very serious about the violin. So the violin story,
pick it up?
So the violin I wanted to play from the time I was very little. I remember being very little and wanting to play the violin.
But had you been exposed to your grandfather playing the violin?
So
like,
I don't even
instrument?
I don't even have a really good memory of why I wanted it. It just always was in my mind that I'm going to play the violin. From the time I don't have a specific memory. I saw somebody, I heard somebody. I don't have a specific memory, but I just felt it from a very young age that I'm going to play the violin. And I remember asking my mother.
Your soul was drawn to this instrument.
So I asked my parents, and they said no for a while because of my grandfather, because of the complicated relationship that they had with my grandfather at that time. They didn't really want me in his world. So I kept asking, and when I was about 7, so I did start lessons, and they kind of thought that, cute. Okay,
like I also got piano lessons at 7.
This cute woman, Amy, she teaches in her garage. You'll take lessons. You'll get bored of it like you get bored of everything else, And but I didn't. And by the time I was 9, and I played for my grandfather for the first time, he said, "That's it. She's going to Peabody." That was it. That became my whole life. 3 times a week I was at this Peabody preparatory. I was there for 6 hours, often. I would have lessons 2-3 times a week, and I would be in orchestra and theory and chamber music. Just so many different classes in order to get as much knowledge into our young brains as possible. And because I was homeschooled, I started to travel to my grandparents back and forth. They were in Rochester and we were in Baltimore. So I was taking plane by myself at the age of 10, and I would spend 3-4 days with them.
And your grandfather would train you directly?
And my grandfather would give me very intense lessons where I would play with him, I would play for him, and he would, teach me all kinds of things, and he would play records for me, and he would tell me stories about the different musicians. It was really, on the one hand, it was a really special way of growing up. It was he was my whole world. Like, he was, whatever I could do to please him, that was all I wanted.
And
like,
do you feel
in my
like
childhood.
You were his world as well? Did you feel like he saw something you or wanted to achieve something through you? That happens a lot, like with stage moms, because I spoke about the fact that I danced and I performed. And when my mother realized that she was becoming a stage mom and like living through me, that's when she pulled back. She said, I can't do. Do you feel like, what was it?
I know that when I was growing up, he told me over and over and over again 2 things. One was, don't get married. Never get married. He said, and it's funny, your grandfather, that's your great grandchildren that are not being born. But he said, never get married. He said, it'll ruin your life. I've seen too many talented women throw their lives away to have a family. And
that's the sage wisdom and advice you
that's
received.
the stage number 1.
Yeah.
And number 2 is, I remember and that was fine for me, 10, 11, of course, I never gonna get married, boys, ew. So, but then the other one was a little harder for me, which was that he said, you can't make it if you're an Orthodox Jew. You can't. It's impossible. You can never.
And he's saying this to an Orthodox Jewish young girl.
Right, 10, 11 years old. So that was, I remember coming home from a meeting with them, like a week that I had spent a bunch of days with them. We light the Shabbat candles, and I go in my room, I close the door, I turn the light on and off. Okay, I can be a famous violinist now,
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you broke Shabbat.
Because I broke Shabbat. And that ended up opening up a lot of doors in directions that were not so healthy for me.
What were some of them?
Well, first of all, I want to say about my own, like my brain, is that my brain is naturally more hyperactive, and I have tendency more towards improvisation, but also the ADHD brain has a tendency towards black and white thinking. This is good, this is bad. So the minute that I did that, in my mind, that's it, I'm not good anymore. Like, I'm not good for my community anymore. I'm bad now. And once I made that switch in my brain, it's very easy to just start saying, okay, so I'll do anything. I'll do anything because I'm bad. So I started stealing, and I started, by 12 years old, I remember taking, I would take things and I would hide them, and I would take money from people. And by the time I was 13, I just felt separate. And by the time I was 14, really was when it really started. I made a kind of separation from myself. I'm not listening to myself anymore. I have to listen to what is bad, and that's what I will follow. So when I was 11, that meant, okay, I'm not going to wear socks when I leave the house. When I was 12, it meant I would wear jeans under my skirt, and I would leave the house and I'd take my skirt off. When I was 13, I would smoke cigarettes with my friends. By the time I was 14, I was smoking weed. By the time I was 15, I was getting drunk, sometimes to the point of blackout. By the time I was 15, 16, 17, I got into harder and harder drugs. And the summer that I turned 17, which is the summer that I was going into 12th grade, on the one hand, I was on a very intense track towards Juilliard. And on the other hand, I had discovered Adderall, which I was buying from people, not prescribed, and I had discovered cocaine, which kept me very awake so that I could practice more hours. So I thought, well, this is a good thing. This is a great thing because it's going to get me to my dreams and it's going to get me to my goals. And I was going in a really dangerous direction. I was buying and I was selling, and I was really kind of a mess. I was kind of a mess in that time of my life.
Who knew?
Just my friends.
So your parents had no clue?
Friends.
Your
my
grandfather?
parents had no clue. My grandfather had no clue. Like nothing. It was so quiet. It would be, I would go into my room and I would climb out my window and I would meet my friends on the roof of a building, down the road. And it was a really messy time. It was just a really messy time. And then something happened that I look at that moment as the turning moment and also a moment that saved my life. So the summer that the summer that I was going into 12th grade was the summer that I was using hard drugs for the kind of, I got really into it over that summer. And then I get this call that my school is shutting down, that the school that I'm going into 12th grade, is not going to exist for 12th grade. And then I get offered by, an organization in Baltimore that they help people, Masa, they help people come to Israel.
Right. And
they said, if you want to, it's like you can go to seminary and it can count as your 12th grade year.
Right.
And I debated it. I remember thinking, but I don't know if I'll be able to get the drugs. I remember thinking, like, I don't know if it's worth it, I need it. And I thought about it, I debated it in my mind, but I also at this point am not really getting along so well with my mother, and that also was a kind of a kicker. It's like, come on, you don't want to live a whole year at home.
Yeah.
So I decided to come for a year.
Get out of the house.
For a year to Israel. And honestly, it changed my life completely. It changed the trajectory of my life. I came to Israel, and for the first time in my life, I have this feeling of freedom and this feeling of connection to all different types of people. And you just walk down, I was here in Jerusalem, and you could take a bus anywhere, and you could, be here and there, and it's so interesting, and your eyes are open, and you don't have parents telling you what to do or what not to do. And I kind of decided that at that point that I wanted to turn kind of a new leaf. And I kind of did, I didn't have the same access to the hard drugs that I would have had in Baltimore.
Wow.
And I really thank God. I really thank God for that all happening at the same time, because a lot of my friends from that period in my life are no longer living.
Wow.
I've lost a lot of friends to overdose, and it's something that's really sad.
Do you feel like that could have been me?
Absolutely, it could have. Of course, it could have. Absolutely, I think that a lot of people who think that could never be me are lying to themselves. I think that the way our brains work, we have this pleasure-pain kind of seesaw, and we want pleasure. Right? Like, think about, and we get our pleasure from so many different things.
Yeah.
We get our pleasure from the dopamine from watching TV, we get our pleasure from sugar, we get our pleasure from smoking or from drinking, from getting high. And I think that, you have just a little bit, and, I can stop whenever I want. I have this, I see this with the phone. I can stop whenever I want, but then every time I put the phone down, wait, I just have to check this. Wait, I just have to look at. And
I love that you're bringing the addiction down to everyday things that anyone watching is struggling with. By the way, you could be struggling with drugs or the phone or anything in between. But it's so critical, that same addictive personality and or addiction.
Right. I think it's just the way that humans are wired, that we search for a dopamine, and we search. I was just hanging out with my cousin, and we're like, I'm a dopamine hoe. That's what we're so used to. We're so used to, especially with the hyper-processed food that we're all eating. It's so hard to stop. Why is it so hard to stop? Why is there so much food addiction? Because it's so hard to stop something that gives your brain the ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
So I really thank God, because the number one way to stop being with a drug, being on a drug, having a relationship with a drug, is to get away from the drug. And it wasn't intentional, and it wasn't something that I did on purpose, but it was something that happened as a kind of par for the course.
Can I ask, you said you've lost so many friends that are no longer alive to overdose, and I wonder, I'm sure you've thought about this, why do you think you were saved? Because if that could have been you, and you said that so easily, that so could have been me, so why wasn't it you?
I think that God stepped in. I think that God stepped in every time that things got really bad for me, and something happened that changed the trajectory of my life. And that, that moment got me away from a certain group of people and a certain way of thinking and a certain, a certain community. But I kept searching out that type of community, even if it wasn't quite on the same level, for another few years. For another few years.
Okay.
Before I officially said that's it. So, and I think that often that it's it's a really hard question. It's a hard, why me and not them? And I think that that's the question that everybody says to themselves when somebody overdoses. And I think that it's just a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle for anybody who has put themselves into a dangerous situation and gotten out of it alive. That we just have to say thank you. We have to say thank you that we're alive, and we don't get to ask that question. Why me? We just have to say, if it's me, if I'm here, then how can I use what I've been through to give other people hope?
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you're saying you're the first person I've spoken to that gave that answer for something so positive. Often when these horrible, challenging things happen, I've had people sit here in the seat and, say, instead of asking why me, they say, what can I do with this pain?
Right.
And you're saying, even for something so positive, that your life was miraculously saved.
Right.
And you're saying, you're still not even asking why, you're just saying, what can I do?
Right. Right. And
you're saying it's a few years.
Yeah. So I'm living here in Jerusalem. I'm in the academy. I'm hosting parties all the time.
And at this point, you had given up on Juilliard? Or was Juilliard still a potential dream?
So I basically, by the end of the year, sorry, I should have said that earlier, right? By the end of the year that I had spent in seminary, I said, I'm going to stay. And I made Aliyah on my 18th birthday, which in retrospect I realized was very brave. But at the time, it just made sense. It just seemed so right. It just seemed like that's the right decision for me, and that's the thing I should be doing. Yeah.
And with that decision, does that mean Juilliard
So that was it. I let it go. I let go of that particular dream. And
how do you let go of that? It's like someone who's training for the Olympics saying, no, I'm going to make Aliyah. I'm not going to train anymore for the Olympics. That's not my dream. How do you let go of an almost lifelong dream if you picked up the violin at 7 and your grandfather was coaching you and pushing you and challenging you? And
it just seemed so clear to me that this is the right decision. This is what I'm supposed to do. That I didn't even ask that question. I didn't even turn around. I didn't go back and do the auditions. I didn't send in tapes even. Once I got here, I kind of realized that this is where I want to be. And that year also was the year of the Hitnatkut from Gush Katif, the year that they took all the Jews out of Gush Katif, which was Gaza. Yeah. And I remember going, and I had a boyfriend at the time who was from there, and I went to the area, and his mom drove me around, and she showed me everything that they had built and all the things, and I didn't understand. I said, why does everyone have to leave? And she said, because there's not enough Jews to hold this land. That was the moment that I said, I'm not leaving. I understand that being a Jew in Israel, even if I do nothing else for the rest of my life, is going to have more value for me, for my life, than going back and going to Juilliard and going for that dream. By choosing to move to Israel, then I'm choosing to be a part of the future of the Jewish nation.
Yeah. How do you explain that to those who invested so much in you and to your grandfather?
So, how did I explain it to my grandfather? I kept wanting to please him and to impress him, and we emailed back and forth, and I remember how much research I would put into my little emails so that he would think I was smart. And how much I wanted to make him proud and how important it was to me to make him proud. But also that having that space and moving here on my own, moving to Israel on my own, helped me to also develop a little of my own identity. I think that my identity had been so wrapped up in this triangle of Orthodox community, idol, God, grandfather, who I have to do everything he says, and good, bad, what's good, what's bad. Good for you is good for you, bad for you is bad for you. Mm-hmm. What is good and what is bad, and who am I in this whole mix? And I think that the decision to move to Israel was all mine. And I think that was kind of just a step into independence and discovering who I was and who I was supposed to be as a person. When I was about 21, so I'm living in Nachlaot, which is Nachlaot is it's like it's next to the Shuk in Jerusalem. Yeah. There's a lot of students that live there. You know, a lot of apartments. I could totally
see you there, by the way.
Yeah, totally, totally. It's such a fun energy over there. And you know, I have a lot of parties at my house all the time, and everyone's smoking and drinking, and
you're still doing drugs.
And light drugs, mostly like weed and hash, which are not drugs, but you know, they're something. Okay. And I'm on a skateboard, and I'm coming down Ben Yehuda Street, and I stop in my tracks because I see this guy, this redhead with a guitar in his hands, and I think to myself, I'm going to marry him.
Are you serious?
I had this thought that like just goes through my head. Now it was a crazy thought for a lot of reasons, because also number one, who does that happen to? Who does that? This is not a movie. But also I have
kind of playing out like one until now, by the way. This would be a great movie. Yeah. I'm just saying, so that totally goes with the next scene.
Great. Yes. So number one is I'm kind of not religious at this point. My hair is purple. I'm wearing jeans. And he's wearing white and black. He's in this, you know, very different world than me. But I know I have to say hello to him, and I come over to him, and I say, hey, I'm having a party at my house on Hanukkah. You want to come? I think it was the week before Hanukkah. And, oh my God, bless his heart. So cute. He's so cute. So I invited him. I told him where I live. And there were some other people around who knew and who were coming to the party. And so we're all at the party. And I come into my kitchen and I find him there. And he had basically come in, and it was so crowded and overwhelming that he didn't know what to do with himself. So he goes to my kitchen and starts washing my dishes.
Are you serious?
And I see him, and that was kind of like just a moment where from that moment on, we were friends, you know. From that moment on, we became, like, I started asking him questions, and I started I was kind of, you know, coming closer to Judaism, and he moved up to Tzfat, and he was kind of getting more into his spiritual side, and so we kind of had this like long distance friendship that starts warming up, and then I get into the Music Academy of the West. And the Music Academy of the West is one of the most prestigious music programs in the entire United States. It's in Montecito, California, which is where Oprah lives, you know, Tom Cruise, like all these, you know, very famous names. And it's considered like the top music academy in the world, and it happens to be where my grandfather teaches. So, I mean, that was also part of, okay, it's not Juilliard, but it's the Music Academy of the West. And I get in, and he, you know, writes me this email. I'm flabbergasted. It's amazing. I couldn't believe it. You're an amazing, whatever. This amazing email. And then he comes back, you know, about 30 seconds later. But what about Shabbat? Because he had heard that I was dating this guy, and I said, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. At this point, I'm not sure if I care about this or I don't care about this. I'm not sure where I stand. I said, I'll go, I'll see, I'll figure it out, okay? So I get to this program, and every week I go over to the conductors and I say, listen, I'm from Israel, I don't play on Saturdays, but, you know, I'll play in the concerts on Saturday nights, but I'll be there at the rehearsals, I'm a very, you know, good student and all that. 6 weeks goes by, no problem, until my grandfather finds out. He comes into the concert hall and very publicly starts abusing me. Starts saying, who do you think you are? Well, you think that you can ask for special favors. This is the reason people hate the Jews. This is the reason that people hate Israelis. This is, you know, you're bringing shame to me and your grandmother. It's just, you know, it's just a one thing after the other after the other.
In public, in front of other people?
In public, in front of other people. And And I, stood there and I'm like, I was figuring it out. Like, I was figuring it out. You always told me I couldn't figure it out, and I'm figuring it out. Like, I'm finding my own way. And I'm figuring out what makes sense for me and where I want to be in all of this. But he couldn't hear it. He said, if you won't play on Shabbat, go home. Like, just go, leave. And so in that moment, I kind of said, okay, I'll play, that kind of thing. But I felt such a betrayal, like a hard feeling. And I felt very sick, like doing that over those 2 Shabbatot. And it helped me to make that decision. I said, okay, this is something I want in my life. This is more important to me than the career, than the playing the best, than being the best. It's more important to me. I care more about that. This is something that I want in my life. And then I went home, and I'm pretty sure also that, it kind of goes along with the cute redhead who I'm pretty sure, who I am definitely going to marry. But it kind of all goes along with it. Like, do I want Shabbat? Do I want him? Because he had said to me, if we're going to get married, number 1, no drugs. And number 2, no, you have to keep Shabbat. Like, those were kind of his, bottom line. And I wasn't sure he was worth it. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if, that was, that was a big part of my life. So I don't know. I don't know if I can give up weed in order to, keep Shabbat and have a religion. I don't know if I want this. Okay. So I come home from this summer program, kind of broken, after this whole situation. And I'm living with my sister in Nachlaot. And he, my husky, my now husband, is by my apartment. And this friend of ours comes over. He is hyper, bouncing off the walls hyper. Now, and then he asks, do you have any vodka? And he has a shot. And then he says, I have a car here. Let's drive down to the Dead Sea. Now, in retrospect, I should have realized that he had definitely taken something before he showed up at my house, but I didn't realize. And my sister, who's much more innocent than I am, she says, okay, but I'm driving. She's like, he drank. I don't want him to drive. And he said, okay, fine, no problem, you drive. So we start driving towards the Dead Sea, and a cop pulls us over. He says to my sister, she's sitting there shaking in the front, do you know why I pulled you over? And she says, no. And he says, your lights aren't on. He reaches in, he turns them on. He says, Chag Sameach. It's the day before Rosh Hashanah.
Happy holidays.
Like Shana Tova, have a good year. Happy New Year. Yeah. And so we're in the car, but this guy is freaking out. He said, you're not registered to the car, only I'm registered to the car. So she said, okay, fine, we'll pull over by the gas station and you can start driving. So he gets into the driver's seat. And immediately he just takes off like crazy, driving as fast as he can. Now, the roads over by the Dead Sea, anybody who's been over there, they're very scary and very dangerous. So we're screaming at him to slow down, and he's laughing. He thinks it's the funniest thing ever. And in that moment, I said, God, I don't think I'm going to survive this. I think that this is where I'm going to die. And I said, if I get out of this, I'm giving my life to you. I'll do all the things that I wasn't sure about, the things that I'll stop with the drugs and I'll stop with the drinking. I'll stop fooling around. I'll keep Shabbat. I'll marry Chesky. All of that. It was kind of in my head. I scream at my boyfriend, my husband at the time. Scream, say Tfilat HaDerech, say it. And he says,
Tfilat HaDerech is the prayer
for traveling.
Yeah, the Wayfarer's prayer, but for traveling.
Right. And so he says it. And I scream, Amen. And right at that moment, I scream because he's about to go over a cliff. There's this turn, and clearly his reflexes are not, they're not fast enough. I scream, my sister screaming, he's screaming. He turns the wheel. The car flips over, it bangs into the wall, bangs into the guardrail, flips over, and we stop, and we're all hanging upside down from our seatbelts. And it's called vertigo, right? Where you don't know which way is up. And I just remember putting my feet on the ceiling and my hands, and then getting out, and we all got out, and we all got out alive and safe. And when the police came, they said, were there any survivors? they thought that there was none. They thought there was no way that somebody could have survived that type of crash. And that was the moment that I said, that's it. That's it, God. My life, I'm giving you my life. I don't know, whatever you want to do in this world, take it. Take me, guide me. I don't know how it's going to work. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me that, what I learned my whole life about this is the way and this is the only way and this is what I'm supposed to do. But this is you've just done a miracle for me. So clearly you can make other things happen. And that was it. After that I signed up to NA, and that summer I'd also I'd used some hard drugs while I was that, and so now I've been.
You had been
right,
in
that summer summer program.
How do you say it? What's it called?
In the Music Academy of the West.
Yeah. Thank you. So you had done that. So you needed to go into Narcotics Anonymous
right, I went
in order
into,
to detox.
to detox and to take it seriously.
Right.
To take
go through a program.
To take that program seriously.
Is it also a 12-step program?
It's 12 steps, yeah. And
what was that like?
I took it seriously. I took it seriously, and I called people, and I said I was sorry, and I let go of things, and I asked God to take care of me. And there's, you take it one step at a time, and it's a lot of clearing things out emotionally, clearing things out of your life, making decisions that were important decisions. They were important decisions for me to make, and I said sorry to a lot of people who I had hurt, and I made the promise to myself and to God that I didn't want to hurt people anymore with my addiction and with my using. And
was it so humbling?
It's very humbling. It's very humbling, and I don't think that you're ever really finished with it. I do think that things just keep coming up, and then you're like, am I using this thing in a way that's unhealthy for me? Like we spoke about the phones before, and
you're trading one addiction for another.
Right.
That's maybe a little bit more socially acceptable.
Right, socially acceptable. Right. So I mean, I've been clean from hard drugs since I'm 22, and I'm 38 now, which is 16 years. Thank you. Thank you. And but I it's humbling in the way that I think that one of the things that they say in the program is that you don't get to graduate. You don't get to graduate. You're not like you're fixed now. It's that you have to be aware, and you have to be aware if you're falling into patterns and into habits that are dangerous for the people around you.
Yeah. So
and unfortunately, I have seen that I've fallen into habits and patterns that are bad for the people around me, specifically around food, and specifically around watching and binge watching and being on my phone and then being mean to people because I was on my phone, and this running after the dopamine that we were talking about before, which is okay. It's not hard drugs.
Right.
If I eat cake and then I get into a car, for me it's not. I'm not going to probably drive into somebody, which is a certain level. But I didn't stop drinking officially until Corona, when I realized that I was over drinking. So it's just something that for the rest of my life I have to be aware of this. But I also think that every trauma is a superpower and can be a superpower. And I want to turn.
I love that you said that.
Okay.
That's so powerful.
Because I do think that I have the tools to change habits in a way that people who haven't been through what I've been through, who haven't changed a really hard habit, they don't have the same level of those tools.
Yeah. We don't have it in our toolbox.
Right.
And it's something that has to be learned.
Yeah.
And we haven't had the chance to exercise those muscles before, and we're trying it out for the first time, and sometimes trying and failing and trying and failing.
Right. Yeah.
I love that you recognize that.
Yeah, and I think that it's also important to recognize that no matter what we go through in life, no matter who's watching, no matter what you've been through or you haven't been through, today I do a lot of work with people who have been through traumatic situations and helping them to tell their story. Yeah. So I've worked with Nova survivors, and I've worked with some hostages, and I've worked with sexual abuse survivors, in helping people to find the strength in telling their story. And that's something that I mean, I've worked on it for myself, but it's still vulnerable and it's still scary to share about because for years I didn't want to share about it. I didn't want anyone to know.
Like I knew about you for years, and only did I found out about this just recently.
Yeah.
So this is something that you've sort of kept separate. Like you've been out there performing on stages all over the world, helping organizations raise millions of dollars, bringing joy and healing through your music, through your voice, through your violin, like I said, to every corner of the earth.
Yeah.
And I never ever knew this about you. So what made you decide to come out and share it like this and be so vulnerable and so honest, which I thank you for so much.
Thank you. It's scary for me because I have, like I said, I have a lot of shame around it. And at the time, even when I was using, it's always with a lot of secrecy.
Of course.
And a lot of not sharing and not telling. And even if I realized, at certain points that I did not have control, I never felt like I had somebody that I could tell. And I only had myself to decide whether or not I'm going to move in a different direction. So the reason that I decided to talk about this is because within a month of each other, on October 7th, one of my very closest friends' husbands was killed. He was in Yamam, which is a high special forces unit here. He was killed rescuing people. He was killed protecting people from terrorists and saving the country. And about a month and a half later, one of my childhood friends died of overdose in her bedroom in Baltimore. And I kept thinking about how, first of all, we're all walking around with a little bit of cognitive dissonance. We're all dying. Yeah. Nobody comes out of this one alive. But that there is a spectrum between feeling fully like you're living your life and you're going for your purpose and your dreams, and feeling like you have nothing to lose. And there's a spectrum, right? So there's people who are out there and they're living everything, and they feel like they're giving everything, and they're really on fire, right, for everything that they're doing. And then there's a lot of people out there who are like, I don't know, it's worth it. It's worth it to get the temporary high, because who cares if I die? I think that there's a lot of people who are kind of somewhere in the middle, just kind of a little pariv, right? Mm-hmm. And so I realized how much that has to do with our own self-talk and our own, like, the way that we choose to talk to ourselves, and to be our own friend, and to believe in our own self. Yeah. So I started writing shows, putting on programs and shows that are designed to help people to change the narrative and change the way that they speak to themselves. So the first show that I put on was called 1,000 Faces of a Hero. Yeah,
and you did that together with your father.
Right. Yeah, my father did have a lot of impact in that, input in that. Basically we talked about the stages of storytelling. How do you build the story of a hero? And related it back to things like healing and the 12 steps, and what are tools, psychological tools that you can use to help you fight your fears and go for your dreams.
And I love, we've spoken about this briefly before. Yeah. I love that every hero journey, the hero has to fall first. Right. And get back up. Like that's like a prerequisite of the cultural hero journey and story. Right.
So the hero's journey means that the hero starts out on an adventure, right? Something happens. Either they're pulled into it, or they're called to it, or they're excited about it. Yeah. And then what happens is they have to go through some kind of portal. And that's part of it, is that you're stuck. You can't turn back. But you also don't know what to do going forward. Yeah. And so then there's this kind of feeling of, okay, I don't know what to do going forward. Something happens. Then you start building this team, right? Which happens that you start meeting the different characters. Yeah. So you have to make friends, and then you also meet the villain, and you also find maybe a mentor, right? There's different like people that you have to bring into your story. And then even with those people outside, you still end up like having some kind of fight with the villain and then falling.
Yeah. The first
And
test you
right.
kind of fail, or
you fail it.
succeed.
You fail it, and it's devastating because you've already kind of fallen at the beginning, and you think that all I needed was to find the right people, right? This is this Messiah thing that we were talking about before. Is all I need is the right mentor, and all I need is the right friend, and then I can fight the villain, no problem. So then what happens is that you start building. You need inner tools.
You have to believe in yourself, and you have to deal with the imposter syndrome. And maybe I'm really not the hero. Maybe I'm really not the one for the job or this mission.
Right. Yeah. And you have to humble yourself. Yeah. And maybe you have to believe in something bigger than yourself. Like that's the reason that I'm doing something is in order to affect other people, right? So that's, you asked me, is it scary to tell your story? And it's scary for me, but I also know that there's a girl out there who is going to hear this, and she's going to say, wow, that gave me hope.
Yeah.
That helped me, that helps me to hear that.
Right.
And that for those people who are out there who this will give them hope.
Yeah.
It's worth it for me. It's worth it for me to put myself in a vulnerable situation to talk about something that's like I have a lot of feelings of shame about.
Right.
It's worth it.
Amazing.
100%. If I could save one person's life.
I want to get into your music now a little bit.
Okay.
And before I do, I just have a question about performing.
Okay.
Because I imagine drugs played a big role in allowing you to be on the stage, I'm guessing.
Right.
What's it like? What was it like to perform? What did you do when you were using, and then now after? How have you coped with that as you travel the world performing?
So it's a very interesting thing because recently people have been asking me a lot about performance anxiety, and I've been sharing a lot on my
It's a real thing.
on my Instagram about it. How I used to have real performance anxiety. I used to shake and forget everything, and just total blackout, and my hands would sweat, and I had really, really bad performance anxiety.
This is your whole life, you're saying?
Yeah, my whole life. I mean, it got worse when I was in this very intense academic, here in Jerusalem, in this very intense academic environment. And what helped me to get over it was I started playing on Ben Yehuda Street.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember the first time going with my violin case and deciding that I was going to fight this thing. I was going to fight this performance anxiety. Like I was going to get him. And I take my violin and I go to Ben Yehuda Street, and I think I was there for 3 hours telling myself, open it, open your case, just play. But I was so nervous that people would laugh at me, that they would throw things at me. I was so nervous that I was going to have, that people were going to be really horrible to me. And slowly, I started to perform more and more on the street, and also to learn more and more what people liked and how to work with crowds. And I mean, it's a very different world when you're in this classical violin world, is that you're supposed to be the best. You're not supposed to think about what other people are experiencing from what you are doing. And if you look at me now and you look at my videos, everything that I do is about connecting people.
You are
everything
so expressive. I feel it in every single bone of your body, in every single hair on your head. You are so expressive and you're so connecting.
Right.
And it's amazing to see from behind an instrument.
Right.
Makes sense with your voice,
Right.
but to see that is just like so beautiful,
I mean,
so emotive.
Yeah, it's the most important part. Today, it's the most important part for me, and I could say that that's how, the same way that the things that I feel shame about, I don't want to talk about, and I've learned to talk about because I think that they will help other people, is the same reason that when I perform, I think about the people who need to hear it, who need to be uplifted, who need to see something amazing. So I started telling you that I'm coming out with a new album.
Yes.
And the album is called Kumi Ori, which means rise, light, be the light, come into your light. It's from Tehillim. Kumi Ori, Shir Daber, right from Psalms. Kumi Ori, Shir Daberi, Bat Yerushalayim, It means rise up, daughters of Jerusalem. It's time to elevate.
I got the chills.
Right, okay, amazing. So that's the name of the album.
Okay.
And the songs of the album are all about being a Jewish woman and connecting to God, and they're full of ideas from Rabbi Nachman and from all over different Jewish sources.
Rabbi Nachman is the rabbi from the Breslov Hasidic movement.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just for everyone who's watching. Yeah.
Thank you. So about
is that
how
what
do
you
we
associate it with, by the way, the Breslov Hasidic movement?
I like everything.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay, fine.
I like
amazing.
everything. I like all the things.
I love it. I love all the things too.
As long as it's love, you know, like as long as it. But a lot of things about how do we bring more light into our lives, and how do we connect more with God? How do we make good things happen in our life? Affirmations, you know, bringing people just positive self-talk. And I kind of, the reason that I did this album, I've always done instrumental music. Always. It's always been, okay, I create a lot of instrumental music. I have hundreds of thousands of listeners on Spotify. Yeah. Thank God.
Beautiful.
All this beautiful, amazing instrumental music. But I kind of realized, what is the purpose of a song with words? Is that you want those words to get stuck in someone's head. You want people to be using good language when they talk to themselves.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the present that I have here. So basically, I thought about with the album, and the album's not done yet, otherwise I would give you the album.
I thought it's the album. Okay, okay, I'm ready for it.
Okay. I thought about what else can I give people that would kind of help them on that journey. So here, I wrote you a little note.
Okay, should I read it on the camera?
You could read it.
Out loud?
Yeah.
Dear Jamie and team, oh guys, this is all for you. That's why there are 3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out, give a little woo,
shade it out.
back, let them know you're here.
Yeah.
Okay, dear Jamie and team, what an honor to join you tonight. May this journal serve you in connecting always to your inner light. Love, Ariella.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so now 3 presents.
Okay.
Okay, the first present is this little ring.
Okay.
That says on it, Kumi Ori, be the light.
Beautiful. So this one's for me, Ariane. We could share it. I could wear it like on Mondays. You can wear it on Tuesdays, okay?
Okay.
Okay, gorgeous.
And
I love the color, like a rose gold.
Yeah, me too. I'm also like my favorite. And then here's a pen that's also like a Kumi Ori pen.
Beautiful.
And the pen goes with the journal.
Gorgeous. Those are your colors.
Yeah, these are my colors.
These are like mine. Look, we're like matched.
Yeah, perfect.
We're coming
so
together.
The journal, basically, what did I think would, like, how could I help people with the thought is that the journal is basically this idea of, like, you take every day five minutes right at the beginning of your day. Okay. You say 5 things you're grateful for, and then set some intentions for the day. You're like, wouldn't it be nice if this happened?
Yeah.
How am I going to feel no matter what? Today I trust what am I giving up to God? Like, what am I not going to take care of, and I'm going to let God take care of? One word I want to focus on today, and a personal prayer for the day.
First of all, I always say let go and let God, which is like the English version of Shlach el Hashem Yehavcha v'hu yichal kalecha, which is like, just put your burden on God's shoulders and let Him take care of it. So I absolutely love this. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely
I'm so
stunning.
proud of it. I'm so proud of it.
Absolutely beautiful.
Because I figured I don't just want to create an album. I want to help people
This to me feels like a movement.
Right. A movement, exactly. I want that to be everything coming together to support people in changing their self-talk and making their lives better.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah.
Okay, it's absolutely beautiful. Hold on. I just want to make sure the camera can see. Yeah, you can see?
You got it? I'm so proud of this. Like, of all the things that I've created in my life, I'm like, how can I help people? And then I also recorded like 100 meditations that go along with like the whole, like the movement. It's a movement.
Yes.
It's a movement.
I said it. L'chaim, girl.
It's a movement.
Here at this place.
Kumi Ori, raise up. Rise up. Speak nice to yourself.
I love it. Positive self-talk. Love yourself. I love that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. The music in the album, it's very acoustic rock. Like, it's very not Americana, kind of Israeli American mix.
Okay.
You know, very acoustic, like a lot of natural sounds.
Okay.
And but a lot of energy. A lot of fun.
I don't think that we would expect anything less from you.
Amen.
Okay, so
Amen. A lot of energy, a lot of fun.
Should be with a lot of success
Amen.
and blessings
Amen.
and mazel,
Amen.
and should inspire beyond your wildest dreams. Whatever you had dreamed and hoped for, everything should be beyond your wildest dreams.
Amen.
In terms
Beyond.
of sales, inspiration, and impact.
Amen. Sales,
Okay.
inspiration, and impact.
Amen.
No reservations.
You guys, no, but you really, really brought it today,
Okay.
and you were so honest, and you were so open, and you were so
thank
amazing,
you.
and I really hope that so many people see this, and whoever's watching this now will send it to someone who needs to see this,
Amen.
who needs to hear this,
Amen.
because that's what we do
Amen.
it for.
That's what we do it for.
Okay, now we get to eat.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Do you want some?
If I had to summarize this episode in one word, it would be gratitude. That is Ariella's journey. Listening to her, I keep thinking how easily this could have all gone another way. In her own words, how she may have been one of those girls who overdosed and didn't make it. I truly believe that God crossed Ariella's path with mine, and I want to express the utmost gratitude for that. This didn't happen by accident, but with intention. So he could have reminded me that falling doesn't disqualify you. Even the most talented people choose the wrong things because they think it will help them achieve their goals. That part broke my heart because I think so many more people live quietly with that belief. And it made me wonder how many of us are addicted to something. Phones, food, doom scrolling, attention, approval, staying busy so we never have to sit long enough to feel what's actually there. And maybe, like Ariella, you're addicted to substances that cause damage, but you manage to hide it. If that's you, please hear this clearly. Asking for help is not weakness. There is no embarrassment in choosing life. There is only strength in becoming who you were created to be and stepping into the mission God needs you to fulfill. Because the day you were born was the day God decided the world could not exist without you. That's exactly what Ariella is doing. She's taking those parts of her story that she once hid, the parts that she was ashamed of, and she's turning them into pure love. I'm leaving this conversation feeling like I want to be gentler with myself. I want to speak more kindly. I want to stop living with that quiet pressure to be perfect. And if you think it's too late, remember, life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Stories like this don't spread by accident. They spread when people like you decide they're worth amplifying. So you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, and share the episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. And thank you for joining with no filter, no fears, and no reservations. This was Ariella Zeitlin.